Wednesday morning, catching up with the Mayor of our region, Mr. Mathew Dickerson. Dicko, I noticed in the paper the other week, I saw an article about 3D printed homes could be coming to the Central West. Is this a legit thing?
This is a legit thing. It's pretty exciting, actually. Councillor Matt Wright moved a motion through council to say that he wanted to reserve 4 blocks in our next release of land from council, specifically for 3D printed homes. And councillors are very supportive of it. In fact, councillors, I think just about every councillor at the meeting spoke about that and said it would be fantastic. It might help us produce homes quicker, which is obviously fantastic. We need homes out there. It might actually produce cheaper homes, and affordable housing is a problem for us. So that was something really interesting. But what's been fascinating out of that process is there are no 3D printed home companies in Australia at the moment. There's been no homes printed via 3D method in this nation. It certainly is happening overseas. But the number of companies that have contacted us already to say, yes, we want to be a part of this. And we've already met with 2 of those. And when I say met virtually, they've come in via a remote meeting process and done a video conference. And they're showing us like one showed us their gantry about how they print their particular devices. And another one talked about the technology they're going to utilise. So it's actually a really exciting space. So I would love to see Dubbo be the first place in the nation to have a 3D printed home go up.
What's the integrity of 3D printed homes? I mean, obviously they've got to be livable because there'd have to be standards around it. But in my mind, I just think, cheap plastic when I think of 3D printed items.
Yeah, they're probably a little bit better than that. And one of the interesting parts from council's perspective is we've got our planning department having discussions with the state government to make sure that all the BCA, the Building Code of Australia, all the legislation, the regulatory processes are satisfied, which obviously they will be. But we just need to make sure those processes are going through correctly. But if you look at a video of them, you watch some of them overseas when I've had a bit of a look at them, and it's a bit like a toothpaste coming out of a device that's a concrete mix. So when you look at it, it's actually normally concrete. There are some 3D ones printed with plastic, but normally they're concrete. But it does come out, just think about your toothpaste tube, and it lays out the whole frame of the house in one layer, and then it puts the next layer up. And then what you get on the outside is a kind of an uneven layer. But talking to some of these 3D manufacturers at the moment, they say you can turn that into a cement render pretty easy. So it just looked like a cement rendered home. Although some people, some people actually leave that look, which is kind of a layered look on the outside because it looks a bit different. I actually describe it as a bit like a Fred Flintstone house. Some of them look a bit like that. But you can change however you want it to look. But I think it looked pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, looking forward to that, and definitely excited to see what becomes of it. Let's talk the Macquarie River Master Plan. A couple of years ago, Council, previous to you being in the top job, in between you being in the top job the second time round, they were talking about doing kind of like a waterfrontage precinct. Is that on the cards again? Because that's a really cool idea, I reckon.
Yeah, so you're talking about there the old Regan Park Master Plan, and that was in existence many years ago and it's been changed a little bit. And so we wanted to go and revisit it. In fact, Councillor Josh Black brought a notice of motion a couple of months ago about the whole Regan Park area and the master plan for that. And so in looking at that, we've actually gone a step further than that and said, well, why should we focus just on that Regan Park area? There's a whole lot of river frontage that we could maybe take advantage of and utilise in a better way. So we've kind of got this green spine through the middle of the city. So that river we've got is beautiful, and the Tracker Riley Cycleway, people love to be on there and take advantage of that river. Yeah. So the idea here is let's look at that whole area. So right up past, for example, where the netball courts are and the touch footy ovals, look at all that area there, look at the other side of the river along there, come right back through the centre of Dubbo, look back through Regan Park and even go out a bit further above and below that in terms of the river and see how we can best utilise the river, best utilise that green space, what's the best use for the community, sporting fields or some nature areas, or like you said, maybe some sort of water feature. But let's look at that whole area. And so we've just started that master plan. We, as in councillors and council staff, had our first meeting with some consultants we've got. They'll be also going out to the community. That'll be probably, if I had to guess, I'd say probably maybe a 7 or 8 month process to go through that consultation process, work out what's going to work well, and then finally go through to the point of going through a council meeting, putting that formal plan on public display, getting those submissions back from the public finally, and then adopting a plan. Now, once you adopt the plan, then it comes the tough part of getting the funding to actually do all of that. But that's a staged process. But I think it's pretty exciting to really see how we can best take advantage of our river.
Oh, I agree. And I know it's a bit of a floodplain, but I instantly think the Wagga Beach, they've got water frontage, grass frontage, all the way down to the water. You can actually, launch and retrieve kayaks without having to climb down steep riverbanks. And there's a cafe down there. I mean, I know it's floodland, but there's like a bit of a cafe too on the water, which is kind of made a little culture in itself. I could really see it doing well here in Dubbo.
Yeah, and keep in mind that there are some clever building techniques now where you have got a floodplain, and some of those areas there might flood once every 10 years, or a 1 in 10 year flood, or a 1 in 100 year flood level. But you can build things there. For example, there's the original Regan Park master plan had a plan for a cafe type structure that made it easy for you to bring all your equipment in and use it as a cafe, but also if a flood came along and you've obviously got a little bit of warning, take it out. And what's left there is a concrete structure, and that can go, as long as it's not fast-flowing flood, so you build it in an area that might be a slower-flowing flood, and then you come along afterwards. And typically what we do with, for example, our toilet block down there behind Bly Street is a flood goes through, the water goes away, you come in, careful of the snakes. There's usually a few snakes that have got stuck in the toilet block somewhere there, hose out the mud, and away you go again. So you can build structures like that, and you can have different things, whether it be cafes or, for example, down at the moment where Ollie Robbins Oval is, which is again just behind, say, Church Street, that area there on the riverbank, there's a current plan that we will be progressing with at the moment in terms of a little theatre area. Now, again, that's a bit of a stage, a bit of an area where you can have small concerts there, and that whole construction will be able to go underwater and basically, again, just hose it off when the water goes down.
Amazing. Looking forward to seeing where council leads with all of those sorts of things. Mayor Mathew Dickerson, thank you so much for your time this morning.
My pleasure. Always good to chat.